What's going on, everybody? My name is Omar, aka Omeezy, and listen, I want to dispel some myths and some rumors out here. The LGBTQ agenda doesn't exist. That's right, they've tricked you, you fell for it. If you're a bigot, if you're a homophobe, if you're a transphobe, stick around, because you're about to discover that you are an idiot. No, on a serious note, well, that may be a little serious though, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, we're about to dispel some myths and really understand what's being talked about in this community today. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that like, comment, subscribe button, make sure you hit that join button, become a member. That way you can see my, graduation content. I just graduated from college recently, so shouts out to me. But yeah, I want you to be able to see that content that came up out of that momentous occasion. So over the past couple of years, the most provocative thing that's been going on in the media has been the LGBTQ.
An inclusiveness training course for the deep breath here, LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP community, which is apparently a community, that 15-letter acronym intended to encompass all sexual minorities. It's an effort to degrade the country, but as a political matter, it's a distraction.
Now, of course, he did have time, though, today for a big celebration at the White House after signing the Respect for Marriage Act. Why did he choose that over visiting the southern border? Think about that.
This was supposed to be about gay marriage, but here you have Joe Biden, President of the United States, purportedly pushing child sexual mutilation.
If you don't know what the LGBTQ stands for, I'm gonna put it right here. I'm not gonna go through all the letters. It gets very confusing, and there's an argument about some of the letters, but neither here nor there. Essentially, it's a community that is championing the differences in sexuality that are outside of the norm. They're trying to promote their message by saying, hey, we're here, we're queer, get used to it. And as somebody who they thought was gay, I think that I should be able to speak on it. I don't know. But as of late, it's becoming the forefront of a bunch of different issues, and it's becoming a thing in the media, and a lot of people are getting concerned. They believe that the trans agenda, the lesbian agenda, the gay agenda, the LGBTQ agenda is being pushed onto our kids. There's a narrative being formed that, hey, you need to be gay, you need to explore it. And there are some people that even go to the extremes of saying, hey, it's not okay to be straight, you need to explore your sexuality. You need to be gay. Gay is good, straight is bad. Over the past couple of years, mainstream media has been pushing this. And I mean, it's been on TV, movies, shows like Euphoria, Orange is the New Black, of course, RuPaul's Drag Race. The latest rendition of Velma are pushing some of the narratives of the LGBTQ. It's even infiltrated kids shows like Craig on the Creek and Steven Universe. Those also have representations of this community as being like characters in their storylines. Literally, you can't go anywhere and not talk about how there's a gay couple on TV, there's a gay couple in movies, there's some sort of representation from the LGBTQ everywhere. I watched the show Grace and Frankie thinking that I was going to be watching a show about, a woman named Grace and a man named Frankie. And lo and behold, it's two gay guys. And hey, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm honestly for it. Live your life, live your truth. The problem is that people think that there's a narrative that the LGBTQ is pushing, and they think that heterosexuality is being pushed out. I think right here is a good time to talk about something called agenda setting theory. It's a term from mass communications, the field of study. It has two major concepts that need to be discussed, and it'll make the whole video make sense. So the first is that the media filters and shapes what we see rather than just reflecting stories to the audience. An example of this is seeing a sensational and scandalous story at the top of the broadcast as opposed to a story that happened more recently or one that affects more people, such as an approaching storm or legislative tax reform. The second assumption is that the more attention the media gives to an issue, the more likely the public will consider that issue to be important. Another way to look at it, mass media organizations aren't telling us what to think or how we should feel about a story issue, but are giving us certain stories or issues that people should think more about. So based on those two assumptions right there, I think it would be a good time to take a little quick pause. Just say to yourself, do you think that the LGBTQ has an agenda that they're trying to push? I'd probably say yes. To an extent though, hear me out. I think that the agenda that the LGBTQ is trying to push is that, hey, we're here, we exist, and it is okay to be one of us. Not saying that there's anything wrong with being anything else, but we are here to be us. And the reason why it's so important to them is because day in and day out, there are so many attacks on their community and who they are as a people, and it's stopping the progress from them getting the recognition that they believe that they deserve. This is a year-to-date snapshot from the Human Rights Campaign. All of these are the 2023 anti-LGBTQ state legislative activities. Over 540 anti-LGBT LGBTQ plus bills have been introduced, and over 220 bills specifically targeting transgender and non-binary people have been recorded. Things like bathroom bills in Florida and different states passing conversion therapy prohibition laws, stuff that is stopping these people from living the lives that they believe that they want to live. And hell, the ones that they've been living their whole lives. It's just coming to the forefront now because people feel like it's such a big deal. There's even a bill in Louisiana that's proposed, HB 466, that would establish Don't Say LGBTQ plus in curriculums in schools. And to be quite honest with you, no matter how you agree or disagree, teaching United States history has to involve some sort of, mentioning of people that were gay or lesbian. I don't know. Some people would argue that there's no need for somebody to distinguish somebody's sexuality, but it makes sense if that's something that they fought for when we're talking about, human rights issues and social studies and American history. It just makes sense to me. I don't know. And all these things are the reasons why these communities fight so hard and why this seems like such a forefront matter. However, when you fight that hard, it makes the opposite side of you feel as if there's a bunch of issues. A lot of people are taking offense to the way that the narrative or the acceptance is being pushed onto kids and thinking that this is something that kids should even have a conversation of discussing. Take a look at Arthur, a show that's been on air for a long time, even when I was a kid. In 2019, they introduced Mr. Ratburn's special someone who just happened to be his gay lover. And even a popular TV show, The Loud House, where there were two dads raising a son. There's examples on Craig of the Creek. There's even Universe features two lesbians, Ruby and Sapphire, coming together in union to create one in, wedded bliss. And those are things that a lot of parents don't think that their kids should be participating in. And then just take a look at this Fox News segment or any other segment where they're pushing things way out there, letting people know that, hey, there are actual drag shows where drag queens, performers are coming to schools and are reading books to kids.
A Baltimore teacher flaunting how she is indoctrinating students on TikTok. While doing a little dance, the teacher joked that she was fired for it and then said, "Put the taxes in the bag." And in New York City, a man was arrested for punching a police officer after confronting protesters of Drag Queen Story Hour at an iconic New York City public library. Meanwhile, conservative faith-based kids book Cameron, As You Grow, are being denied the same story hour slots at public libraries across the nation.
You don't perform in front of children, do you?
No, nor would I. And thanks for having me, Jesse. No, if I was performing for an audience and I saw a child, I would walk out.
So why do these drag queens keep foisting these performances on children?
Or things that are getting worse, people saying that it's getting out of control when there are transgender students at these schools going to fight other girls at the schools that, have a clear biological disadvantage. And if you look at all these things, you would be on edge too. I mean, it just sounds so scary. Like, why aren't we actively talking about this? My child, our child, America's children should not be exposed to such provocative things. It is just the most craziest thing in the world, and nobody's screaming about it but me, right? That's what it feels like. But the reality of the situation is America has always been sexual or provocative or, racy towards children. Children's safe spaces have been dying since the Land Before Times. I mean, literally, I think that there's even depictions in the Land Before Time. Look, there's plenty of examples of heterosexual activity happening all on different kids shows, all at different times throughout history. If you watch The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Selena Gomez and Dylan Sprouse had a locking lips moment, and it was Selena Gomez's first time kissing somebody ever in existence. And she was forced to do that on Disney Channel.
A grown-up Selena Gomez has admitted to having a crush on Cole Sprouse when she was younger, which is something many people can relate to. But when she appeared on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, she ended up locking lips with Dylan Sprouse instead. She was a little nervous about her first kiss and ended up closing her eyes way too early and missing her mark. Hey, how many of us have been there? Although this made the moment awkward, she says Dylan was super sweet about the whole thing. Maybe that's because Dylan had also never kissed anyone before. Dylan claims he wasn't very popular with the ladies when he was younger, and this was just one incident in a long string of awkward encounters.
On the show iCarly, Miranda Cosgrove's character Carly and her other character Freddie also locked lips in bed on the TV show.
Just ask actress Miranda Cosgrove, who ended up kissing her iCarly co-star Nathan Kress in the episode I Saved Your Life. Is it a coincidence that Miranda considers this to be her favorite episode of the show? She says that since she and Nathan had known each other for years and loved each other like siblings, their on-screen smooch was a little funny, but at least it was nothing worth freaking out about.
Ready? I got you some.
Is that not sexual? Is that not something we should be protecting our kids from? And you can go down the list and it goes on and on, from movies to TV shows to radio. Are we actively talking about safeguarding our kids from these sexual matters? Or does it only come up when it doesn't fit our narrative, when it actually doesn't appeal to what we consider to be norm? Look, I think historically speaking, to be an agenda or to be a narrative automatically comes with the connotation of negativity. It means that one side is greater than the other side. It means that one side is diminished and the other side is risen up. And all these things come through the form of media, some way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it be movies or TV or written text. I mean, take a look at the movie Birth of a Nation, an old flick that depicted racial themes between blacks and whites, claiming the superiority of one race over the other. Take a look at some of the literature and text between the Asian Americans and the white Americans, talking about who was better than the other. Look at all the texts surrounding like the Holocaust and stuff like that, where Hitler purposefully put out media discrediting and making the Jews sound like animals in a way that not only made them look like worse people and the reason why Germans were in this situation, but then in turn uplifted German people by making them seem like we're better than those people who are, you know, barbarians and demons and things like that. So when we talk about pushing a narrative, even in sports, when somebody pushes a narrative that MJ is better by continuing these stories and these tall tales about how he was so great and why he was this, that, and the third, it's usually used in a way to diminish another player that is being compared to him, like a LeBron James or a Kobe Bryant. When I sit here and look at the LGBTQ narrative or the trans narrative or whatever the case may be, I don't see a bunch of people saying that, hey, this side is wrong, our side is right. I see people looking and begging for acceptance. Now, it's not up to me to determine if they deserve acceptance or whatever. They're human beings. If they want to live their life in a way that does not harm me, I think it should just be universally true that what they do is fine. And for those that are saying, well, what about the kids, Omar? What about the kids? Because I know I'm going to get that. Kids live through these things. These older people who are a part of this community were once younger people who are a part of this community that just did not have a voice. So it's true that kids can be these things. And I think a perfect example of that is Zaya Wade, Dwayne Wade's daughter. There's so many people that are out there scrutinizing Dwayne Wade and the child and the mom and Gabrielle Union and all these things. But ultimately, Zaya Wade is just trying to live her life the way that she sees fit. I don't think there's a problem with her being the poster child for some of these magazines and all this other stuff like that. No, I don't think that this is pandering to the kids or trying to get them to be something they're not. This is Zaya Wade living her truth. Nothing more, nothing less. No, I don't think this is a way to coerce kids into doing this. I don't see a mass movement of kids saying, hey, Zaya Wade is trans, now I'm gonna be trans. It doesn't necessarily work like that. But if we're gonna talk about safeguarding spaces and protecting kids, then I think that we should talk about the entire spectrum. You know, we should look into Epstein Island. We should look into some of these cartoons and other media that depict heterosexuality in the same way. It's just something that's more accepted. And if that's what you want to be real about it. Say you hate it, but don't try to make it seem like it's a narrative. It's not. But, you know, I'm going to say what I always say at the end of these videos. I could be wrong.